Hello, everyone. You are listening to your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kiana Rivera, and I'm the Vice President of Membership at the Palm Beach Chamber. And today we are joined by Tina Thomson. Thank you so much, Tina, for being with us today. And a little bit about Tina. She is an author and an accomplished executive, as well as a certified leadership coach. Tina is the executive advisor to the board at Frisbie Group in Palm Beach, Florida. Cultural and emotional intelligence, coupled with a clear sense of purpose and 20 plus years in global C-suite roles, Tina has valuable leadership insights. She has founded and managed 4 successful businesses, 2 in retail, an Australian teaching franchise, and her coaching practice, Epiphany Leadership Coaching. In 2018, she launched the Female Wave of Change in the USA. She serves as their Honorary Global Ambassador. Tina has held several global executive board positions, and she sits on the President's Council at St. Thomas Aquinas College. Above all else, Tina is the mother of her miracle son, Nicholas, his loving wife, Lisa, and she is the doting grandmother of baby Alexia. Thank you, Tina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we will jump right in. Tina, you are just a leader of shining colors, and sometimes it's so hard to accomplish everything you've accomplished. And so I count myself lucky that I know you personally and I can call you a friend, but tell our audience just a little bit about yourself and how you got in this position today.
Sure. And thank you for having me. So there was no plan, believe it or not. Born and raised in a Greek South African family. Oh. And so tradition required that I would finish high school and then get married, which I did.
Wow.
It was short-lived, unfortunately, but I do have the miracle son that you mentioned in the intro. You know, being a single mother as young as I was only 21.
Wow.
With a 10-month-old little boy when I got divorced, and I had to get into the world of commerce. I had actually graduated as a teacher.
Really?
Yes.
What grade? Or just all education?
Third, in fact, tertiary.
Oh my goodness.
Education. So through the Trinity College of London, I was training the trainer. But it didn't pay the bills, and I wanted the best for my son. And so I started off actually working in a pharmacy. I wanted to do pharmacy at university, but I wasn't allowed to.
Why?
So that was very protected. You know, this good little Greek girl not allowed to be exposed to the world. And that's why I got married young.
Right.
You know. But I continued my education, and through UNISA, which is a correspondence university of South Africa, UNISA, and I did subjects I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to know psychology. I love geography because I love the earth. I am a very eco-friendly person. I love nature, love fauna and flora. And then I chose English because it wasn't my mother tongue.
Right.
And I knew that business worldwide is done in English.
Wow.
It wasn't easy with a baby.
Yes.
And working full time, but I did it. And then the doors began to open. I then made a mistake. So my first marriage was not a mistake.
Oh, man.
But I married for the second time. And I do acknowledge, and I'm grateful for my ex-husband who taught me everything I know about business.
Wow.
So within 4 days of marrying him, I was in the family business. And I mean, I was a teacher. I did not know business, but I learned it, and I learned it well. On-the-job training is always your best way.
Trial by fire, just step in.
Absolutely. And, 17 years later, I got divorced again at the age of 40.
Wow.
So still quite young. And then I really began my career. It ranges from hospitality industry, being the front person, actually organizing all the seminars, the symposia, welcoming important international guests, etc., right through to becoming the CEO of a women's organization. So the Business Women's Association, the biggest in Southern Africa, in fact, the Southern Hemisphere, over 10,000 members. And of course, there I learned more about business.
Right.
You know, fast forward a couple of roles later, I ended up being in government.
How did that happen?
Well, they had been guests at all the events that I did for the Business Women's Association, and they'd spotted talent, as it were.
Right.
They knew that I was hardworking, ethical, and they needed one of their divisions within the Department of Trade and Industry to be turned around. And I had become known as a turnaround specialist. Little did I know that I would uncover corruption.
Oh, no.
And, you know, that is one of the stories that I've highlighted in the book I wrote, because being a whistleblower is profound. Instead of being applauded, you're actually ostracized. And it cost me everything I had worked for, you know, over a career at that stage of 25 years. I would do it again. Okay, so
Good.
every cent,
Cent.
even sold my house to fight the case.
Wow.
It took 2 years. The forensic auditors took 2 years to sort that out. I was in danger, so I, you know, couldn't work for 3 months. I had a bodyguard. It was horrific.
Right.
But I would do it all again.
Yes.
Because it freed the people that were working for that organization under a tyrant.
Wow.
So that, you know, that really set the stage for an international career, because people got to hear about my whistleblowing, about the fact that I'm just a no-nonsense woman.
Right. And sometimes you have to be that way to get, you know, business accomplished. And the fact that you had the courage to do so is amazing to me. And you're an example to so many women in the industry and even outside of the industry. I want to focus on your book that you mentioned. Can you share with us the title of your fabulous publication?
Well, it is an autobiography, and I wanted to include not just the drama, because I've had my fair share. I wanted to include some humor as well, and I wanted to highlight people who've influenced my life. So I called it Good Souls, Bad Souls, and Assholes.
Oh, I love it so much. I can tell you, I could not put that book down when you gave it to me. And I have lent it to everyone I know. I say, you have to give it back, but I'll let you borrow it, because you talk about your life from start until now and all of the adversity you faced, and yet you've come out triumphant. And I think that's just a huge testament to who you are as a person. And I'm thankful I get to know you because of that. You know, you've not only spoken into my life, but you've also just been that like soundboard for me. And I know I can call you anytime or say, I have a really bizarre question, but I know I can ask it, because you will support it and you'll guide it. And everybody needs that in their lives. So again, walk me through we'll do a quick plug here. You're listening to Your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. We are joined by Tina Thomson with the Frisbie Group and also Epiphany Leadership Coaching. So kind of walk me through the book and how you kind of had to lay low for a little bit during the whistleblowing.
Very much so. In fact, so I wrote the book really for my family, because I'd had so many crises. They never understood why I left certain roles, even my uncle, who was my lifelong mentor until last year when he passed. Wow. He would say things like, "You're shooting yourself in the foot. Why would you leave that brilliant role?"
Right.
So I thought, I want people to know why I did what I did.
Right.
At that stage, I couldn't have dreamt I'd become a grandmother, but I thought to myself, if I do become a grandmother, I do want, particularly if it's a granddaughter,
right,
to just see that you can go from surviving to thriving. And, you mentioned that you can call me at any time. That really, I feel, is my purpose, particularly for women. And make no mistake, I'm not a feminist. And I know the women don't like to hear that. I'm not at all. I have a son. I love men. But women have historically been suppressed.
Right.
And I don't want any woman to go through what I had to go through. Many stories. I think every woman has a story.
Right.
But, I think at the age I am, at that stage, being at a big table with men,
right.
I often was the only woman in a boardroom, was very difficult. And so I wrote the book thinking, perhaps someone one day would read it. And if it inspired them to fight through and to keep going, well, then I've lived on purpose.
Right.
And so, that, and I wrote it in 2015.
Wow.
So, life has happened since then.
Right.
And I do need to write
You need to write another one. Yes. So much has happened since then. So you must. You mentioned your support for women, and I just want you to share you have a story that's pretty close to your heart, I think, about a certain woman that you helped, and I would love if you could share that. I think she was in South Africa.
Oh, yes, right. Yes. Actually, there were a few. Right. So the Businesswomen's Association really was for women in the formal workplace.
Okay.
We were a nonprofit. And the president was a figurehead. I was CEO. And so the president didn't know the day-to-day runnings of the business.
Oh, my.
But she'd heard that we were going down to some of the rural areas to do some workshops. And she got onto radio and announced it and said, all women are welcome.
Oh, boy.
Now... The venue we had hired were for the 40 women that had booked for this workshop.
Right.
But hundreds of women turned up.
Wow.
And whilst this president wanted to just leave and ignore those women, I said,
no way.
You made the mistake. I know these women have traveled for hours on foot to be here, and I'll address them. And so after the formal workshop and everyone left, I brought those women in. I told it was a hotel, the venue. I told the hotelier I need a bigger venue. And we sat on the floor and discussed their businesses, which were really, grassroots, women doing embroidery, women doing... selling on the side of the road as right. hawkers. And they had real issues like a formal business does. They're largely uneducated. But I took 2 or 3 of them under my wing and said, come back next month, because I could see the potential.
Right.
I actually went back 6 times.
6.
And
wow.
It was just phenomenal to see the freedom they had once they were financially sound.
Right.
Fast forward 5 years later, I received a phone call from a young man, and he said his name, which meant nothing to me. And, I thought it was a hoax. He just kept saying, he was crying, and he was saying, Mrs. Thomson, you helped my mother, and I said, who are you? Where are, what, how? And it turned out that his mother, being now financially capable, was able to send him to school. And he had just graduated, and he wanted to thank me. And so, aside from, working at top level of, global companies, that story is one that's very close to my heart, as you said.
Right.
Because the positive impact was profound.
Well, and I love what you said early on when you said you felt like you lived on purpose. And so many people, I think, just kind of wade through life and they float, and they don't have any real clear direction. And I think when you live on purpose and you have that specific calling and gift, that's amazing. And that's when you have found true purpose. And you can know that, if I were to leave this earth tomorrow, I've made an impact. And I love that. And I think the fact that you can see potential and you kind of remove yourself from your body and you kind of have this overview of what's happening almost. And you see that it's bigger. I always say sometimes we view life as when you're running, if you're a horse and you have those goggle things to keep the horse on track, sometimes we view life that way and it's very just straightforward. But it's when you take those goggles off and you see the full picture of what it could be. And you don't have the fear of failing. You step out and you say, well, what the heck? I'm going to do it regardless. So I commend you for that and for your leadership and the fact that you've not only touched those women in South Africa, but also here and me, in case you don't know, it's your time. I'm talking about myself now. I just think it's wonderful. I think everything you do has been really intentional, and I love that you've been called to do this. So yes,
it's an honor. It's an honor.
Right.
Every single person that you see blossom is the most fulfilling thing. Right. There's nothing that can touch it.
Yeah. So now kind of walk me through really quick how you founded Epiphany Leadership Coaching and really the bread and butter within this business.
Sure. So during the whistleblowing, those 3 months when I couldn't work because I literally had to be underground with the bodyguard, I reached out to my mentor, who was the great Jill Marcus, who actually became the governor of the Central Bank of South Africa, so arguably more powerful than the president,
right?
Because she handled the cents,
right?
The dollars and cents. And I said, now what? What am I going to do? And I was in a panic because I needed to earn.
Right.
And she said to me, Tina, you need to coach. And I said, no way. Every second person is a coach.
I was just saying this. I was like, you throw a rock and you hit a coach. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Absolutely. And she said, come on, Tina. She said, just do it properly. Become an accredited coach with the ICF, that's the International Coaching Federation.
So there is a course. You go through this certification to become a licensed coach.
So there's 2 courses. So you first do a course to become a coach.
Okay.
And then the ICF actually re-examine you. And you've got to, it's a point system like any profession, and you've got to renew it every 3 years too. So they have an extremely high standard. And, she said, do that. She said, you have so much experience to share. And, she said, I think you'll enjoy it. And she was right.
Wow.
I immediately set up Epiphany Leadership Coaching in South Africa at the time, using the word epiphany because it was an awakening. And I'm also a believer. And, of course, the Feast of Epiphany on the 6th of January is huge
right.
in the Christian calendar. And so Epiphany was born, and I did quite a bit of corporate coaching only at C-suite level.
Wow.
I could identify, and it was effective. Mm-hmm. And then when I arrived in the US, I realized that actually there are a couple of other courses that are recognized here. Whilst, they want an ICF accreditation, they also want other courses. So I set about doing more, and I actually did one last year because I do believe in lifelong learning and staying relevant.
Right.
So that's really how it was born. Of course, I registered an LLC here as well. The sad part is that I'm an empath, and therefore I cannot coach all day.
Right.
I have to have time to debrief in between. And so I have to have another job,
right.
A day job.
and tell me about this day job. What is this day job?
Well, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm working for the Frisbie Group. They are a family office, the Frisbie family, 30 years in Palm Beach. So they well respected. They know their trade, and
right.
they are real estate investors. They invest in the local real estate to develop what they call placemaking.
Yes, I was just about to say, I hope you used that word because I want to unpack that. So many people don't know what that word means, and they don't understand all of the incredible work that Frisbie Group has done and continues to do. So please shed some light on that.
Sure. So whilst they acquire, really well-positioned, well-located property and then design with some of the world's best architects, they understand that the people that are going to live in those homes have children.
Right.
Okay? Those children need to be educated. Whether they have children or not, they need health services. Mm-hmm. And so on. So the placemaking is to actually create an entire support system for any individual living in a space. So the Frisbie family are really good at that. They'll walk away from a very lucrative deal
right.
if they can't do proper planning, master planning and placemaking.
Well, I think it's incredible too that they look at it in the bigger picture and they see, they're young and they have children of their own, and they see this as a place to continue to keep their roots. They grew up here, they live here, they're in this life every single day, and it's not like they're some stranger, they're in it. If anything, they're in it, And I just think it's incredible the work that they continue to do and that they brought you on board because you've been able to elevate them in the best way. And you shared a story with me about their charitable work that they do. And, they really should share more about their charitable work. So tell me just some of the highlights that they do, because I know they're very, very serving at the heart.
Right. So, along with the community, they're caring for the community. They're very involved with the police. They support the police, the fire fighters,
right?
The nurses, the teachers.
Right. So they're the ones educating your kids.
Absolutely. So that's where they go in and support, financially and with their time.
Right.
Phenomenal. And then, of course, any project that is worthy of support, whether it be, the Cox Science Center, which we've just done a massive donation to, or, one of the local schools. So
right.
we have also negotiated and succeeded in bringing the Bezos Academy to Palm Beach County.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yes.
Is this breaking news? Tell me it's breaking news. We broke news on this podcast. Yes.
The city council did know. They announced it a few months ago.
That's exciting.
But it's not really public knowledge. So, and it is out there. We can talk about it. So they are taking the Roosevelt School, which is really not functioning as a school, together with our partner Related. They're actually going to refurbish the school because the Bezos Academy requires a certain standard.
Right.
But it's a phenomenal model. And, honestly, I commend Jeff Bezos for actually, dreaming up this model. He was a single mother son.
Wow.
And he knew how much his mother battled to raise him. But he was privileged to go to a Montessori school. And so, and of course, the rest is history with his trajectory. But he has created the Bezos Academy, and this one that we've brought to Palm Beach will be the first of many.
Wow.
It's completely free for ages 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, my goodness.
They get the best tuition because Bezos actually hires the best teachers.
Wow.
And those children get 3 meals a day. And that 3rd meal is packed up for them to take home.
That's wonderful.
So it's very holistic, beautiful story. And my colleague Nancy Bourne did all that spade work.
Wow.
But the Frisbees had the foresight to understand that you need a qualified teacher to put this type of deal together.
Right.
And we are the only developers in Florida, possibly in the country, I'm not sure, but certainly in Florida, that actually hire a full-time teacher to do the work properly and do the placemaking correctly.
Well, and that's the good. I think that's just incredible to touch on because you are hiring experts in their field and they have the self-reflection to know I'm not an expert at this, so I'm going to look for that expert. And they don't try to be the experts either, which I think is what attributes to a good leader, because so many times, so many times leaders try to be really good at everything. And it's okay to not be really good at everything. You can be good at one really awesome thing and thrive in it. And that's your lane, stay in your lane with this. So I want to touch on too, just really quick as we wrap up shortly, walk me through the generations of the Frisbees because there's so many of them.
Certainly. And I just want to reiterate what you said. There are leaders, humble leaders, knowing what they know and knowing what they don't know. So the founders we call Generation 1. Okay,
that's great.
They are 3 brothers, and they're all in their 70s.
Wow.
Very active still, very hands-on. In fact, Dave Frisbie functions as our CEO.
Oh, okay.
Day-to-day, hands-on, incredible individual. And then each one of the brothers has children, of course. So Gen 2, and I know you've met Rob and Cody.
Right.
And they...
So they're Gen 2, okay.
They're Gen 2. They're actually brother-in-laws.
Okay.
But, one of the founder brothers has 4 children.
4?
So Rob has a brother and 2 sisters.
Jeez.
And then Dave Frisbie has 2 daughters. And then Rick Frisbie Sr. Has 2 daughters. Now, those 2 daughters are not in the business because Rick's semi-retired. He founded Battery Global, which is a venture capitalist firm. We have a visitor.
That stupid bag.
And so then all these Gen 2 have babies. We have 8 under the age of 4.
Oh my gosh.
And 1 on the way.
Franny, right?
Franny,
yes. Right, yes.
So delightful,
That's
absolutely
amazing.
delightful. And as you correctly said, they need to secure the place,
Right.
the placemaking
Right.
for the 3rd generation and beyond.
And beyond. I think just that's incredible of their focus and drive to investing in our community to make it better for their kids and the kids to come and the kids to come, because there's no stopping it. you know, and it's exciting because I grew up here. I grew up in Jupiter, and it's, you know, night and day difference from when I was in elementary and kindergarten to now. And it's all wonderful. You know, it's like, I want to stay and have kids here and do the whole thing, because we live in such a magical place, and nobody will understand it until you get in and you feel it, and you have all of your sensory things booming, basically all of the stuff. So Tina, thank you so much for being on your Palm Beach Guide today with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. We were joined by Tina Thomson, the executive advisor to the Board of the Frisbie Group, as well as her own practice, Epiphany Leadership. And with that, we will close it out.